All right, let's talk about something that is, frankly, one of the most heartbreaking challenges for anyone starting a new aquarium: cycling. If you've ever set up this beautiful tank, you're so excited, only to lose your new fish. Well, this is for you. We're going to dive into the science to make sure that never, ever happens again. Let's get into it. It's a story I've heard 1,000 times, and maybe you've lived it. You do everything right, you set up a pristine new aquarium, you add your fish, and then, within days, sometimes even hours, they're gone. It's an awful feeling, and if you've asked yourself this question, believe me, you are not alone. It's actually the classic sign of a very specific and very common problem. And it has a name: new tank syndrome. This right here is the #1 killer in new aquariums. See, it happens when we add fish to a tank that looks perfect, the water is crystal clear, the plants are green, but biologically, it's a blank slate. It's missing a crucial, totally invisible workforce that's supposed to deal with all their waste.
So yeah, we're calling it the new tank killer. But look, this isn't about feeling like a failure, not at all. It's really just a story about biology. And once you get the science behind this killer, you can completely sidestep it and build an amazing, stable underwater world right from the get-go.
Okay, so this is probably the biggest mindset shift you need to make. Your aquarium, it isn't just a pretty glass box full of water. You've got to think of it as its own little self-contained ecosystem. And for any ecosystem to work, it needs a waste treatment plant. For us, it's a microscopic one that we have to build right inside the tank's filter. Getting this idea is truly the key to success. So how do we actually build this invisible treatment plant? Well, the answer is all about understanding the science of something called the nitrogen cycle. And I promise this isn't some boring chemistry lesson. This is basically the life insurance policy for your fish. Getting this is what separates people who just keep fish from people who help them thrive. In a nutshell, it's a 3-step process. First, all the fish waste, any leftover food, it all breaks down and produces ammonia. And ammonia is super toxic. It literally burns a fish's gills. But then, step 2, a team of good microbes shows up, eats that ammonia, and turns it into something called nitrite. The problem? Nitrite is also incredibly toxic. It basically suffocates the fish from the inside by messing with their blood. So finally, step 3. A different team of microbes arrives, eats that nasty nitrite, and converts it into nitrate, which is way, way less harmful. In fact, your plants love it. It's food for them. So we turn 2 poisons into plant fertilizer. Pretty neat, right?
And here's where it gets really cool, because the science here is changing all the time. For decades, the textbooks said it was just 2 specific kinds of bacteria doing all the work. But new research is showing that the real heroes, the real workhorses in our tanks, are often these single-celled organisms called Ammonia-Oxidizing Archaea, or AOA. And even crazier, they've discovered Comammox bacteria that can do the whole 2-step process all by themselves. They turn ammonia straight into nitrate. This is cutting-edge stuff, and it helps explain why some of the older methods and products don't always work like we think they should.
Okay, so now that we know what we need to grow, how do we actually do it? How do we establish this amazing colony of microbes? Well, you've got choices. There are basically 3 main paths you can take to build up that biological filter and make your tank a safe home for fish. And this table lays it all out perfectly. First, you've got the Fishless Cycle. Notice the stats: low difficulty, maximum safety. This is our top pick. Then there's the Fission Cycle. Look at that: critical difficulty, low safety. It's stressful for you, it's dangerous for the fish. Honestly, this is an emergency-only approach. And finally, you have the Silent Cycle, which uses a ton of live plants to do the heavy lifting. It's a fantastic, natural method, but you really do need to know a thing or two about aquatic plants to pull it off. So let's just hammer this home. The undisputed gold standard is fishless cycling. It's the most ethical, most reliable, most secure method there is. The logic is so simple, right? You use some other source of ammonia, it could be a bottled product, or even just some fish food, to feed and grow that giant colony of good microbes before any fish ever set foot, or fin, in the tank. You build a powerful, robust filter without putting a single animal at risk. All right, now that you're armed with all this science, you basically have a superpower. You can see right through all the myths and the marketing hype that floats around in the aquarium hobby. So let's go ahead and slay a few of those dragons right now. You've seen them. I know you have. Those bottles on the shelf promising an instant cycle. The ones that say you can add fish in 24 hours. I mean, it sounds amazing, doesn't it? A total game changer. But does the actual microbiology back up that claim? Not so much. A 2023 study by a scientist named Scanginelli and his team was, Well, it was incredibly revealing. They took 5 of the most popular quick start products and tested them. The result? A staggering 80% of them, 80, completely failed to reduce toxic ammonia over a 14-day period. We're not talking 24 hours, we're talking 2 full weeks.
And all of this leads to what should be the golden rule for every single person who keeps an aquarium. Please burn this quote into your brain. In fish keeping, only negative things happen quickly. It's so true. A heater can fail in an instant. A disease can pop up overnight. But building a healthy, stable, resilient ecosystem, that takes time. It takes patience. There just are no shortcuts. And that idea of patience brings us to the final and really crucial distinction, the one that really separates a good fish keeper from a great one. See, your job isn't done just because the tank is cycled. There's another level to unlock, a mature aquarium.
So think of it this way. A cycled tank, that's what you have after 4 to 6 weeks. Your little waste treatment plant is up and running, it's chemically stable, it can handle ammonia. But a mature tank, that's something else entirely. Over 3 to 6 months, your tank develops this incredibly rich, complex biofilm. You know that slimy layer on all the surfaces? That's not dirt, that's life. And you get this whole universe of tiny organisms, microfauna, living in there. A cycled tank just processes waste. A mature tank is a living, breathing, resilient ecosystem.
So the next time you're just looking at your aquarium, I want you to ask yourself that question. By understanding the science, by choosing the patient path of a fishless cycle, and by aiming for true biological maturity, you're not just keeping fish in a glass box anymore. You are cultivating a tiny, living, breathing piece of the world. And that is the real art and joy of this hobby.